Hi everyone, this is Jonathan from J5 Music, and in this video series we're going to be looking at music production. So the aim of this video series is to show different techniques and ways of creating original music. Using Ableton Live as my DAW of choice, my digital audio workstation of choice, this video series will act as a showcase to bring new ways and ideas of how you can use them in your productions. This growing collection of music production videos will include a vast amount of production skills and techniques. This will include DAW navigation, beat making for multiple genres, synthesis, mixing and mastering techniques, general knowledge, hardware and software, custom audio circuits, plus everything else that's in between. I'd like for you to join myself in these carefully crafted, highly informative videos and enjoy the knowledge I've gained over my 20 plus years of DJing and producing. The first thing that we're going to look at is our DAW, so our digital audio workstation. So I have Ableton Live, so if you wanted to grab a copy of this, you can download a free trial. You can download the suite for 30 days, so if you wanted to follow along with some of these tutorials, or if you wanted to go and purchase it, you can just head over to abletonlive.com, download a copy and then get it open, install it and then open it up like we are here. I'm just assuming that you know how to do that, so I won't bother showing you that. But like I say, you just go over to Ableton Live, download it onto your computer if you're using Windows or Mac, install it, and then it will take you through the license procedure to have a trial. And then once you've done that trial, you'll be on more or less the similar screen to what I'm on now. So I'm just going to quickly run through this. I'm going to try and keep these videos quite short. So the first thing I'm going to look at is this top header section. So what you'll want to first notice is it looks a bit alien if you've never seen this before. But if we just strip it all back and just take it one bit at a time. So I'm just going to close down these windows. I'm going to minimize that and take that off. So this is just the raw Ableton Live. So what we have at the top here is our global bar. The first thing that I will say, that if you're new to this, is down in the bottom left hand corner. If you just open this info tab, you will see information where your mouse hovers over. So if, for example, you wanted to find out some of what was on this top menu bar, you could just hover over it with the icon open and it would tell you exactly what it is. So I won't bother telling you what each one of these is or are, or they do. I'll just quickly run through what this actually does. So this is our global bar, and we have different sort of tabs and stuff on here. So this top left is link, so Ableton Live link. This is where you can sync it up to different devices. You've got your sync indicator in and out, which is linked to this. Tap tempo, so this is where you can tap your own tempo. Just keep tapping it. And then you've obviously got your link output going there. That's the tempo. So if we wanted to reset this, we could just double tap it. Or if we wanted to input its own tempo, we could then put in, let's say, just type in 95 and then enter, and then it will go to 95. These two here are our phase nudge up, and this is good for if you're syncing external equipment live, so you can slow the tempo down. Currently, you can slow the tempo down or you can speed the tempo up. This is the time signature, so you can have different time signatures. The default is 4/4. This is your metronome, and then your settings for your metronome. This one is your quantization menu. So this is how many bars it will do to quantize your next thing that you're going to play. So if you had an audio track, it will quantize it at 1 bar or 2 bars or 4 bars, or you can just set it to none and go freestyle. These on the right as well have shortcuts. So Command and 0, Command and 9, 8, 7, and 6 does the main ones. I'll just leave it on 1 bar. This next up is the scale mode. So when you have this on, the scale mode is selected, and if you have instruments that are loaded up, this will allow them instruments all to automatically match what scale you're in. So here you can select your root note of the keyboard. So it starts at C and ends in B, obviously goes back to C again. And then this is the scale. So you can see they've got quite a few scales in there for you to choose from, all the major ones really. And that's where you select your scale. This is the follow. So this is if you're playing back. This is your arrangement position, which will all come onto in the future videos. We'll just build it up bit by bit. Play, stop, and then record. This is your MIDI overdub, automation arm, re-enable automation, MIDI capture, session record button. We'll look at all that later on. Loop start and punch in point, punch in switch, loop out switch. This means nothing to you for now, but like I said, we'll come to this later on in the videos. Draw. This is where you can use your keyboard as a MIDI controller. So if in the left hand corner you see this is activated by M, so if I just press M, you see that turns it off, and then M turns it back on. So now I can use the MIDI, my keyboard as a MIDI controller. If you notice here in the bottom, this little tab bar, this is where some information gets called to you, so it tells you what your current octave is. Moving on to the keypad mode switch. So this is where you can assign a letter key to a certain parameter. Same with the MIDI if you've got a MIDI controller. So you'll select a slot, for example this, and then you can assign that to a MIDI button if you've got a MIDI keyboard or something like that. This is where you can change your settings for your input and output. So if you're on Mac, it's going to be Core Audio. If you're on Windows, it's probably ASIO driver. And then this is where you can select your audio interface, your input and output, and then you can configure them to whatever you want. And then you can choose the bit rate or the sample rate, and then other things like latency, and obviously test your latency out. We won't look at that just yet. We'll look at that later on. It'll all come. This is your CPU meter, and then it has other information on there. Just a quick example, if I had loads of tracks on here, I could then show what track is taking up quite a lot of CPU power. And then if this, for example, track is like up here, that means they've got a lot of processing on it. It's taking up a lot of time, which is going to increase as latency. So the more things you have on, the harder the CPU will have to work. So sometimes you can just right click on this and then freeze track. What that does is it freezes your arrangement, and then it allows the computer or CPU to be lower, which gives you increased or reduces the latency down. So that is basically what this is showing you. If this is high, then you want to try and get that down. Next up is the overload indicator. So if you've got a hard drive, which is, let's say, a disk drive, and you're using a lot of samples from that disk drive, loops and things like that, sometimes the buffer rate, it'll struggle keeping up with the time that it's been played back at. So then this will start to flash. Good way that you can do that is by right clicking on an actual device and then pressing RAM, but we'll look at that in a bit. And these are the MIDI in and out indicators. So if I have the keyboard selected, which I have, and then I press the keyboard mode, you'll see that this button is lighting up. This is just indicating to me that MIDI is coming in to the actual Ableton Live. And then these two on the right show different session views. So this is your arrangement view, and this is your session view. Next up, we'll look at this right hand panel. So this is where all your folders and everything is. This is where everything is, where you can find sounds, VST plugins, instruments, effects. This is where all that is housed. So we just simply open that up, and we can drag and drop this to make it bigger or smaller. Just going back onto this left hand panel, we have up in the top left hand corner, we have collections. Collections are where if you have certain things that you see yourself going to, this is where you can divide these up into different collections. So I at the top have synthesizers, samplers, and drum machines. So here are all my synth samplers. So all I need to do is just click on that and go, right, and I want that one on. Instead of going to your plugins folder, going to this, going to that, going to all this lot, you can just simply just put it in a collection, and they're all color coded, so you can just simply just drag and drop that onto your into your project. Next is library. So library, this consists of all the sample packs that come with Ableton Live. It holds the audio effects of Ableton Live. It holds your plugins, Max for Live devices, and this is where they all are: the grooves, the tuning, everything. I won't go through each one of these, what they are, because we'll get onto that in future videos. But this is where they are. If, for example, you wanted to search for a sound, you just go to your sounds, and then in this menu up here, you will see what type of sounds you can search for. So if you wanted a bass sound, for example, an analog bass sound, this is where they would all be held. So you can just simply click on this and then drag and drop that into your actual project itself, and then you can start playing it. And then if you like that sound, then you can obviously use that sound in your project. You do get a sample down here at the bottom. Next up is drums. So we have drum kits, we have a drum rack, a drum sampler, audio effects. So these are all Ableton Live audio effects. Midi effects. So these can go on Midi tracks. Modulators, which are basically modulators that automatically assign to a parameter. Plugins are devices or software that you buy from third-party companies. So these are all companies that are outside Ableton, and what you do is you purchase them and then you bring them in to your productions by basically installing them. They're either in VST, which you'll see this little 3 down here, or VST2. Or you can have audio units as well in Ableton Live. And to change that, you just simply go up to your live settings, and then you go to plugins, and then you can rescan your plugins. You can use audio units 3, use VST2s or use VST3s, set your own custom folders for it, and then do some other stuff which we'll look at later. At the bottom here we have groove and tuning, which we'll look at, but just quickly, tunings are different tunings that you can set the global tuning to. We'll look at that in a bit. And then grooves are sort of grooves, so this goes for like swing, things like that. So swing. So this is where you can choose your swing types, and they all have different types. So this one's come from the MPC 3000, and they have 8th notes and 16th notes. So adding this to your drum rack or your synthesizer or whatever, it adds a groove to your mix, which we will look at in the next video. Next thing is templates. So templates is where you can just set a default template, or if you have different templates for different tasks at hand. So if you had a podcast, you can set a podcast and radio template up. If you had a mix down, you can set a mixing template up. Or if you had a new song idea, you can basically set up a new song idea. And then last, we have in this bottom left, we have places. So this is where you send all your libraries to. This is where you hold all your folders and things like that. To set that up, you just simply add a folder. You set that folder somewhere on your hard drive, or if you've got an external SSD, then you can do it that way. And then it will come up on here like this. For example, I've got Ableton Live sources. So these are just some devices that I've made up, which is just make it easy for me to just add a bit of character to the sound. And then you start slowly building them up that way. So if I just close that for now, we'll look at these audio and MIDI tracks. So as you can see, a box standard MIDI track is basically just showing you if you've got MIDI coming in. You'll see that this reacts to the velocity and it shows that MIDI is coming in along with these two indicators up here. This is where you can set your MIDI from. So if you had a different device, you can set the MIDI from there. You can set a channel. You can monitor it automatically in or off, and then you can send that audio to another channel. We'll look at that in another video. This one, however, I have loaded a drum rack onto this, so this is now an instrument, and you can see the bottom here has changed to a meter. So if I just open this up here and I go to samples, and let's say I want one shots and kicks, I can then, let's say I just want to drag this kick onto C1. So this note now, I'll just close this again. So you'll see that this sample has been loaded into a sampler where I can now play it on my keyboard. I can then change what different mode I want in it. So basically I want a classic mode where I can cut the release down, the sustain down, make it a bit more sharper, tighter. And you'll see audio coming out of that device now. These are basically arming the track, so this is how I can play the MIDI. This is solo in it, so if I had multiple tracks but I just wanted to hear this track, then I'll click this. This is what solo does. Mute the track, that's what mute does. So you can see I'm pressing the button now, but there's nothing coming out because I've muted the track. Panning left and right, and you'll notice down here in the bottom tab that there's information. This is where I can send this channel to a return track, my MIDI selection along with the channel, MIDI in and out, and then send it to an audio, send the audio out to a certain channel or chain. This is basically set to main. And then we've got audio, so audio is basically the same. So if I just drag this onto an audio track, instead of me being allowed to play it on my keyboard, I can just play that audio back. And then with this, you will see we have different modes down here, which we will again look at in another video and go through it slowly like that. So each track basically just has your inputs, your outputs, audio from, audio to, if you want to monitor it, you send them, you sends, basically send it to a return track, and then the level, and then the meter level to turn it up and down, along with the peak meter level, what it is, left and right, solo, mute, and then arm the track. So we can send a Q output and a main output on the right. We can send the sends to pre or post the main channel. And then we have a master level, and then the level left and right. And then we can then use the headphone if we want to listen to something back on the Q. So that really is just a basic overview of Ableton Live. There is so much more that we can learn out of this software. I've just merely just scratched the surface. The one thing that I would say is, if you were struggling, is obviously this information tab down here, or if you go up to the help bar, you could then get maybe support if you're really struggling. Or if you go to read the live manual, you can download a PDF. So if you download a PDF, it's better because you can search the PDF. So if you just search for something that you wanted to know, then it would take you straight to that thing you have a question about. So yeah, that is an overview of Ableton Live, and that is what we're going to be using throughout this video series. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it hasn't been too fast. I am trying to keep these videos condensed down so I will be going a bit fast. If they are too fast though, just let me know in the comments, or if there's something that you'd like to know, just let me know in the comments and I'll try and work it into the next video. But other than that, yeah, the next episode we will do is making a house beat. So I look forward to seeing you in that video, and I'll see you in the next one.